NainaMD. Welcome to my show, right here in Beverly Hills, Fusion of Science and Beauty. And as you know, my passion is to bring anti-aging and regenerative medicine into a very credible light because it is a very evidence-based field, except that people just don't know the science behind things. And today, there's a technology I want to introduce. It's fabulous technology, fabulous device that's been around for many years. And I have the CEO, Alan Ruszkowski, and he is here, CEO of CVAC. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
I know you from way before when you first started with this machine, and before it even become financed into into the model that it is now. And I was so fascinated by the story of CVAC. I know the audience are probably dying to know what is a CVAC, and I'm going to let you introduce that. And if you could tell the story about the horse.
The story about the horse.
Tell the story about the horse.
This was probably more than 20 years ago. The inventor of this technology is a respiratory therapist. And he actually was hired to replicate some research that was done in Europe in the 1930s, where they used altitude chambers to condition fighter pilots.
Right. Like cyclic altitude.
Yeah,
right?
so that they would not pass out at high altitude. And so he began experimenting with this technology and discovered that the faster he let the air back in the chamber, the greater the effect. And then he learned that it could potentially have a benefit on things like mitochondria and other athletic type performance things. So he built a chamber for racehorses. And some of the, so instead of using rats to do research and mice to do research, he put the racehorses in the chamber.
Yeah.
So he took a racehorse that was on its way to the glue factory, so to speak. It was bleeding from its nose, its ankles were bleeding, and it was really kind of sad because whenever something's new, people are afraid of it.
Right.
So they put this horse in there, and he gave the horse these altitude conditioning sessions with the CVAC.
Right.
And it didn't take very long before the horse broke the track record.
Yeah, it's a fabulous story that I still, and again, I think it goes back to the fact that this is, so CVAC stands for cyclic variations, altitude,
and adaptive conditioning.
Adaptive conditioning.
It's really more about helping the body to adapt to challenges and stress.
Yes, and as we know that as we adapt to stress, so to speak, we're able to hold on to oxygen, we get more conditioned. And the way to get more conditioned, and I'd done a talk on this back, I think about a year ago, I started to do a talk about mitochondrial biogenesis. So mitochondria is a powerhouse of all the cells that we have in our body, and they are the things that help make oxygen, right? And so having said that, they're responsible for all the cellular respiratory, the ATP production, and so forth, which eventually leads to making more oxygen. You actually end up increasing your aerobic ability.
Yeah, right.
So,
it increases your body's ability to absorb and utilize oxygen.
And I think that just for the audience, it's so important to emphasize that, there's different theories of aging, right? And one of the theories of aging is about mitochondria. And mitochondria are really the ability for the bodies, the cells, to produce ATP, which then will facilitate the body's ability to, utilize oxygen. Okay, so in essence, what's happening is that you are increasing the body's ability to aerate yourself or make more oxygen. Okay, now, having said that, when you talk about an athlete who's conditioned, okay, a conditioned athlete is one that when you have like a per square muscle, okay, just a muscle, you either increase the number of mitochondria, or each of the mitochondria needs to be working more efficiently.
That's right.
Okay? And this is where this technology comes into play, because it can help do both. And the research is being conducted because, it's an ongoing thing. This technology, although it's been around, research studies are being done every day because there's so much things that you're finding out that, things that it can help, perhaps the machine. One of the things which I found, and I got interested many, many years ago, is that when we talk about athletes getting conditioned, we usually say, okay, they need to perform, at this VO2 max needs to be there, all these measurements. Well, if you go back to the biochemistry, what you're really doing is you are increasing that mitochondria to function better. You're also reducing what we call oxidative stress, which is another theory of aging. And you may even be helping with glycation, which is, you know, where there's protein and sugar bonds where they kind of form these bonds that can be broken down, and it leads to what we call glycation that interferes with things, so you age, you know, more rapidly, so to speak. So there's so many theories of aging that this machine can actually help, or this technology helps with.
Yeah, from our perspective, the three major theories: oxidative stress, mitochondrial deficits, and metabolic waste products, which are associated with aging. We think there's a way of unifying that whole concept.
Wow.
The fundamental question, when they look at insulin resistance, which is associated with diabetes and heart disease and cancer and Alzheimer's disease, insulin resistance is associated with a deficit or a shortage of mitochondria and oxidative stress. So why, and diabetics are tired all the time. Diabetes is like a form of accelerated aging. So one way to unify these hypotheses of aging is to ask the question, why would the human body downregulate mitochondria? And we know when people exercise, they have more mitochondria. So these metabolic waste products that are produced by the mitochondria. When they take oxygen and sugar, and they make energy out of it, they also make waste products. And those waste products have to be removed from the body. And they're generally moved through the lymphatic system in the body and through the glymphatic system in the brain. And if you don't get an adequate amount of exercise, they continue to accumulate inside the cell and between the cells. These waste products are what causes old skin to look old. Okay? So then the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump like the cardiovascular system. So you have to exercise in order to get these things processed. And what the CVAC process is, it's like a super form of exercise. By relaxing in the pod, we believe we are stimulating the production of mitochondria and removal of these waste products that are produced by the mitochondria.
Because you would enhance the lymphatic system as well. You know,
and we can do it without producing waste products at an accelerated rate. So from that concept, we may be doing a much better form than you can with exercise.
And how many minutes, for example, in that machine, how many minutes what is the series of treatments that's recommended that you've seen throughout that would work, that's beneficial?
Well, everything we've studied about this, from the published studies by the University of Hawaii that was funded by the U.S. Army to build a super soldier, so to speak, and studied blinded placebo-controlled studies conducted at Stanford, show that everything we've studied shows that this is like a very effective form of exercise. So we follow the U.S. government guidelines on exercise, which is a minimum of 20 minutes 3 times a week.
Oh, okay, I see.
I utilize CVAC an hour a day, every day for the last 12 years.
Now, you know, a lot of times the people are talking now that you may not need 20 minutes of exercise. You could do like shorter intervals. So does that go along with the theory, or you think at least with the CVAC you should be at least 20 minutes to get the benefits?
Well, I think until we have the data, that with
it should be like 20 minutes. So about 20 minutes to half hour, 3 times a week, pretty much.
And actually, it's very relaxing. When people get in for 20 minutes, they want to go longer because it feels good. Do people?
What if like they can't come in 3 times a week? Is it still beneficial to have like 2 treatments? Let's say, let me ask you this: is it beneficial to have like 2 treatments a month?
Yes,
like each individual treatment, is it beneficial? Have you done that study?
Yes, one of the clinic we have had CVAC in where we collected data was a class 4 heart failure patient. It was under medical supervision by his MD, and he used CVAC for 20 minutes a week for 12 weeks. And his VO2 max measurements increased by 16%.
Wow.
Okay, for a heart failure patient, and for him, that was the difference between being able to walk or not. And
then they usually do the ones, the EECP, where they put those compression on, right? And that was that even better than something like that, or?
Well, I haven't seen those data on EECP, but I know that a lot of the researchers we work with at the Mayo Clinic and things like that do that study. they're looking at our technology as like the next generation.
Because this would be so much, because that's so uncomfortable. That's so uncomfortable.
And you bounce up and down.
Or you have to be under compression and all that.
Right.
This way, all you do is you just kind of go into this chamber. Is it like you lie down? Do you lie down?
And because, no, you sit in it.
You can actually sit in it.
It's like the cockpit of a jet fighter.
Wow.
And you can use your cell phone, you can do your email, you can work while you're inside it if you want to. A lot of people meditate while they're in there.
I think that would be the right thing to do.
Right.
No cell phones, please. So what have you found? Like this? I know you've appeared on CBS News, right? Or which are some of the news you've appeared on, right? The doctors, wasn't it the doctors? The doctor's show or something. I know you guys have done so much. You guys so much.
MD, PhD, Dr.
Exactly.
From UCSD was on the doctor's TV show.
This has been really. So this is like, I think this is like a hidden jewel, because even though everyone's knowing about it, I would like to see it in it should be in every hospital. I think it should be in every medical center, because seriously, that's what we are trying to combat. We're using drugs, right? We're trying to take drugs. We're trying to do this. We're trying to do IV drugs and all this. And we're trying to do rehab, right? People go to rehab and they go into exercise issues and everything. And the reason I really wanted you to do this show is because I want to say this CVAC needs to be in every hospital, in every medical center, because it does amazing stuff.
You're a visionary, and some of our customers now have contracts to install our unit in some of the top medical institutions in the country right now.
That's fabulous.
So I don't think it's going to take very long. I think the Affordable Care Act is going to help a lot. A couple of years ago at the J.P. Morgan Healthcare Conference, Toby Cosgrove, who's the CEO of the Cleveland Clinic, gave a luncheon address. And he made the statement that if hospitals don't adopt diet and exercise, they will go out of business, because with the Affordable Care Act, reimbursements for fee-for-service are going down. And the only way that hospitals will be able to survive is to keep people healthy, so they don't need expensive surgical procedures.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
So I think you're right. In terms of visionary, the Affordable Care Act will do a lot to help get this technology in widespread use.
Well, I think it's fabulous technology, and I'm so glad you're able to talk about it. What's the website that people can look you up?
Well, we're easy to find. If you do a Google search on CVAC pod,
so CVAC, okay.
CVAC POD, CVAC pod.
Right.
There's pages and pages about us.
Comes up.
Our website is one of the first ones that will come up.
So is it CVAC.com?
Yes. Well, no, it's our website is CVACsystems.com.
Got it. CVA Systems, CVACsystems.com.
Right.
Got it. And we're going to come right back. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come right back, because I want to ask you about all the fabulous stories, other stories than the horse stories.
Okay.
Let's go to human stories this time. Okay? This is NainaMD, Fusion of Science and Beauty, right here in Beverly Hills. We'll be right back. Hello everyone, welcome back to my show. This is NainaMD, Fusion of Science and Beauty, right here in Beverly Hills. And I was continuing with a fabulous guest, fabulous technology, CVAC technology, and Alan Ruszkowski. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I'm welcome back. We were just talking about how this technology is, what it is, and how we think this technology should be in every center, medical center, at least I think, medical center or hospital. But how did you get started? I want to know your story. We heard the horse's story last time, but I want to know, how did you get interested into it?
Well, my background is when I graduated from engineering school, I went to work for General Electric healthcare, medical systems at that time. And I was selected to be on the team to start their MRI business. And it was my strategy that resulted in capturing 80% market share and creating a $400 million business 2 years after product launch.
Oh, wow.
I then, after being at GE for 11 years, I went to Silicon Valley, was involved with 3 startup companies. One of them was a successful IPO. The other 2 companies we sold to General Electric. And I got hooked not just on starting new businesses, but new modalities. And we sold Imatron, which was the first CT scanner for the heart. It was the first cardiac CT scanner. We sold that to General Electric for $200 million. And so after my 20 years in Silicon Valley, I began looking for new technologies to get involved in. I had enough money, I could do what I wanted to do. And so I found this respiratory therapist in a bicycle shop giving non-automated manual sessions to cyclists in this bicycle shop. And to be honest, I was quite skeptical about this technology, being from mainstream healthcare, mainstream medicine. So I got in the pod myself, and afterwards I didn't feel any difference. But at that time in my life, I was pushing 50 years old, and I began to notice no matter how much coffee I drink, I didn't feel like I was totally awake. And I've always made money thinking multiple steps ahead, more steps ahead than the competition. And my blood pressure was 139 over 89.
And how long? And when was this?
It was about 12 years ago.
Okay, okay.
So my blood pressure was 139 over 89. My father was hypertensive since he was 50.
Right.
I was in a hypertension business. I know what those drugs do. I didn't want to have to take them.
You knew where you were headed. In other words, you knew where you were headed.
Right. And my fingers were getting big and painful with arthritis. My knees were hurting. My ankles were hurting. And I thought to myself, gee, if this is aging, aging sucks, okay? So I didn't feel any different after I took this session, but the next morning when I got out of bed, it's like someone cleaned the windshield on my brain. It took me 10 years of research to understand why that's happening. It's because when you lower the pressure in the lungs, we're probably stimulating the flow of cerebral spinal fluid through the brain to wash out these metabolic waste products, to make your brain work better. And after using CVAC for 2 years, I was still skeptical. But the arthritis in my fingers was gone. My knees didn't hurt anymore. My blood pressure dropped to 107 over 79. I have the artery flexibility of a 20-year-old. I was still skeptical because the placebo effect is really, really powerful. But when we completed the blinded placebo-controlled studies in pre-diabetics at Stanford University, then I had the data to understand that this thing really works. And
when was that? When were the studies completed?
This in 2008.
Wow, fabulous.
And we've spent the next several years understanding the fundamental mechanisms and science behind this. And we're quite pleased right now. We're just recently in production, and we're overwhelmed with people wanting to buy our product.
Wow, that's fabulous. Fabulous. So you started having obviously more treatments.
Right.
So what else happened besides your fingers not hurting and your knees not hurting? What have you noticed?
Well,
your skin looks tremendous, by the way.
Thank you. And people notice that. I actually sell a lot of CVAC scanners. When people see my skin, they go, "I want that skin."
Yeah, that's why we're in the beauty business. That's why we're talking about this, because it's you know what? It's about over delivering, under promising. You can just bring this in and just say, "Hey, we just want to, this will help you make your skin look good," and suddenly you're doing things metabolically that you didn't even think that you were doing.
Right.
So it's really nice. I mean, that's how I'm going to be using it.
I think that when we say, like, what does it do? Well, we know what exercise does.
Yeah.
And just think of this as like a very advanced form of exercise. The government guidelines are that people should get an hour of exercise a day.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, there's a lot of people who are marathon runners who are really exercise a lot, and they die of a heart attack.
Right.
They have a lot of oxidative stress.
Right.
A lot of exercise, if you are not knowing what's going on metabolic in your body, like you said, if you're having a lot of metabolic waste or under oxidative stress, and if you go and exercise, you're going to create more, and you're going to actually be more harmed.
Right. I think
and I've seen a lot of times people who exercise a lot, their skin that's my first, their skin is aging too.
Right.
So
at an accelerated
rate.
Right.
And I think there is a dilemma here going on. There's some kind of a dichotomy where people think the more you exercise, the better it is. Not for everybody.
No, it's an inverted J curve.
That's why there's only and also I did the research because I gave a talk on how to make new mitochondrial biogenesis, how to make new mitochondria. By the way, this was included one slide, but I looked at certain things, like if any hormones would do it, if any nutrients would do it, or all of that mitochondrial biogenesis. But one of the things is that I found out that they say that if you go and do it at a certain age, it's like you said, there's a level where you can increase exercise beyond a certain point, it's not going to be beneficial, but it may be detrimental.
Yeah. Well, there was a study they did in Germany where they took blood samples of extreme athletes, and they had much lower levels of stem cells in their blood.
Yeah.
So I have a hypothesis. We know that metabolism for people who don't exercise is not good, and then metabolism for people who get an adequate amount of exercise is better. And then I think there's another metabolic mode, that people that exercise too much, it shifts the consumption of energy to athletic performance instead of other things that are necessary.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy to make stem cells. Yeah. And if you exercise too much, it might be possible that these people are preventing the rejuvenation, the body's natural
replication
rejuvenation,
of the stem cells, right.
because the energy is going toward athletic performance. The other thing that I think happens with especially a lot of these triathletes is they will train and they'll do one or two, 3 races a year, but they don't do anything for recovery. When you exert yourself athletically, you produce metabolic waste products. Yes. And if you don't remove those waste products, they will contribute.
But they believe that they're just drinking enough water, but they'll just drink tons of water. They think they flush it out.
You have to stimulate the lymphatic system when you do that.
Yeah.
You can drink water, but it's got to go to the right place and it's got to flush. And you have to get the waste products outside from inside the cells.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Give me some testimonials.
Let's
have some fun with some of your testimonials.
We have a tremendous number of testimonials. I think just about anything that you can equate exercise to, we've experienced a lot of those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we really like to hear is that there was a Wall Street Journal article about a 14-year-old tennis player.
Got it.
And his parents are both MDs. So his father is one of the leading liver failure physicians, and his mother is a dermatologist in Florida. So they were involved with purchasing one of our units, and they established basically a tennis academy in their home. And when this individual started using CVAC, he was ranked 282nd in the country for his age group. He's now ranked #1 by the head classification from the tennis racket company in the country.
Amazing.
And we have a lot of those kind of stories. And some of the best stories are actually from medical doctors who utilize this. Yeah. We've had one of the things that we're researching is its potential for diabetes and diabetic neuropathy. There's one physician in Southern California who has implemented CVAC for some of his patients that have diabetic ulcers and diabetic neuropathy. We're getting in the pilot studies just outstanding results. Some of those people were no longer needed insulin. Amazing. And it restored the sensory function on their feet. So this particular physician, he was skeptical like we were, except he had fibromyalgia. Okay. Fibromyalgia,
which is a mitochondrial deficit state.
Right, it's a mitochondrial deficit state, and the best treatment for fibromyalgia is to get exercise.
But you just can't get exercise because they hurt, they go into more lactic acid production.
Right.
So it's in other words, it takes more energy for them to stay contracted. So that's why they have a lot of TMJ, they can't sleep, and all these issues start happening.
So this physician, he said, well, he was skeptical like I was, but he got in the pod and he felt better. And then he started coming back, and he kept feeling better. Yeah. And then he went up to the wine country for a week or 2, and the pain came back. Wow. Then he got back in the pod, and the pain goes away. And I just met with him and his research staff here in Los Angeles County, and they're planning some very extensive research in there. Fabulous. And then one of the other researchers said, this doctor, he's amazing. When he's in surgery all day, then at 5 o'clock, everyone else wants to go home. He goes out and sees more patients because he's got so much energy. And this is a guy who had fibromyalgia.
That's amazing.
And
amazing story.
One of the conditions with fibromyalgia is the doctors tell their patients, you need to go out and go to the gym and get exercise. If I can't get out of bed, how am I going to get exercise?
And here, so in other words, really, we've kind of like, we know the importance of lymphatics, this thing. We know removal of metabolic waste. We started with, and I'm just going to say it, the infrared sauna, right? That was the next best thing that came. Right. And a lot of the cancer patients were, for integrative, in terms of integrative medicine, we say, go to the infrared sauna, do the biomat where you change. But this is like, you've far exceeded that. You've
Right,
far
I-
exceeded that, what infrared sauna, and you know what I mean, I'm
Right,
not
oh,
putting
yeah,
it,
right.
but it's the same principle of trying to remove the metabolic waste, trying to increase lymphatic drainage. We've superseded, this is like a it's like the high-tech revolutionary way of doing this, right?
Well, I come back to why would the body downregulate mitochondria? You know, the metabolic waste products are produced by the mitochondria, so they are in essence swimming around in their own excrement.
Yeah.
The mitochondria can't force people to get exercise to clean out the cells.
Right.
But the only thing they can do is downregulate their quantity, and if they do that, then people are tired.
Yeah.
So with these other techniques that I think they probably, based on the mechanism of how our device works,
Right.
our device produces more of a uniform energy distribution across the body. But if you stimulate mitochondrial biogenesis without removing the waste products, I would be concerned you might be doing more harm than good.
Yeah, because you can't make it, because then the efficiency goes up. You can make but that's what I said, you have to have both. You've got to be able to make that new mitochondria, but they've got to work efficiently. And part of that working efficiently is to be able to remove the waste products.
Right.
If they don't work efficiently, a person could have 100 mitochondria, you could have 50, and if all your 50 were working amazingly and this was not, 100 were not, you'd be in better shape.
Right.
So it's a combination. Listen, thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Sure.
I think this is a fabulous technology. I hope every place everywhere has this machine. I think every gym should have it, and every physical therapy place should have it.
And every place of work.
And every place at work should have it.
You can work while you're inside.
We got to work. Yeah, that's exactly right. We can make our phone calls. I think I'm going to get this
You don't
right in my
have to take
office.
your clothes off. You don't have to take a shower.
Absolutely.
And you can get some
I
of
used
the
to have
benefits
one,
of
yeah. So I'm
exercise.
in Beverly Hills now, and I'm looking to actually getting one in the smaller place that I'm in now. But listen, thank you so much. And people look you up. It's if you just search CVAC, that's CVAC
CVAC
pod.
right.
You can just Google that, or it's cvacsystems.com.
Right.
Right. And look this up. This is the latest technology, you guys. I'm only bring you the best. We're going to be back next week with a fabulous show, NainaMD, Fusion of Science and Beauty, right here in Beverly Hills. Bye-bye.